What popular rumor in your school turned out to be true? Our science teacher was having an affair with our science technician and regularly left the class to have sex with her in the technician's room. That rumor started day 1, then 4 years, 2 divorces and 2 very quick departures later it was confirmed, and what was left behind was a technician's daughter in my year whose life had fallen apart, that a 12-year-old 6th grader had gotten pregnant over summer break. Our Los Angeles County suburb, it was a small and far separated from LA itself. See how large that county actually is on Google if you are unawares. Was so scandalized by this rumor that a newspaper article came out with a cartoon drawing of a pregnant girl in a pretty little girl dress and ribbon in her hair playing with dolls and kneeling next to a dollhouse accompanied the story about the little girl who got pregnant and planned to keep the baby. She was interviewed. I remember her name, but it's unnecessary, the whole damn town knew who it was. What's wild is that the kids in junior high actually had a baby shower for this 7th grader as she got close to full term, and all brought in packs of diapers and formula for her on a designated day. With the teachers, principal, and probably the school district in support of this. The year was 1984, 1985. Mr. and Mrs. Dickoff teachers had a daughter named Tara. It's true. There was a rumor that a teacher had sex with whole basketball team. Turns out it was half of the team. Worst part is her son was on the team. Her husband ended up divorcing her and her son left with his dad. In high school that the biology teacher was growing weed in the environmental lab. Supposedly he did it for 30 years without anyone noticing. No one could ever prove it though. Later on, I was assigned to be the agent taking care of some of his financial matters, so I went to his house to have him sign some paperwork. He had a hydroponics setup there, so I asked him about the environmental lab. It was like Han Solo in The Force Awakens. It's true. All of it. Then he offered me a brownie. That one of the students was actually a cop. Turns out he was a cop and busted one of the actual students for selling handguns in school. If you thought 21 Jump Street was unrealistic, think again. Cop was a 33-year-old male and undercover for like half the semester. There was always a rumor that the head janitor was a huge pothead and would smoke with students in one of the storage sheds away from the main building. I always figured it was bullshit until my friend CJ sent me a pic of him and the janitor smoking weed while surrounded by folding chairs. In my Catholic Jesuit high school, one of the priests and one of the nuns were very close friends. We all loved them, and we could see that they were quite fond of one another and they made a really nice-looking couple. We used to affectionately kid them about meeting in the tunnel between the convent and the rectory. A few years after my class graduated, they both left their orders, got married, and had kids. We're all happy for them. Here's a 2-for-1. First was that one of the kids in my grade was gay. Even back then, most people didn't care, so I didn't think anything of it. Second was that one of the kids hung himself on a swing set in a local park. They didn't say who it was, and just thought it was a vicious rumor about the same guy. Then 4 girls who were close to him came down the stairwell crying and ran out the front door and started heading in the direction of the park. It was confirmed around noon. We were sent home after lunch. The goth freshman liked to fist herself. She is a camera model now. Our freshman science teacher was a massive jerk to any girl, and would frequently throw the dress code book at girls for the slightest issue. Everyone said it was because he was pissed his daughter became a stripper. That ended up being true. At our school, this one kid was rumored to be a son of one of the local gym's amateur boxer teacher. None of us had no real reason to think twice about it. Once we got to high school, this kid started teasing that kid. I had a couple of Moodle friends with the bully, so I warned the guy he might want to let up on teasing him. A couple days go by, the dude didn't stop. And the boxer's kid proceeded to give this guy one of the worst one-sided fights I have ever seen. The bully learned his lesson and never bullied anyone else for the rest of our high school years. So it turned out to be true that this girl at my school who was maybe 16 was banging all the older kids who never left for college. Well, she definitely was, and everyone found out when she banged one of the cooler guys still in high school, and there ended up being a herpes outbreak at my school. Nearly 40 people got herpes lol. In middle school, we had a cool social studies teacher. He loved the popular boys, especially the athletes, and not only ignored bullying in his classes of unpopular kids, he often took part in it. He also offered up his services for tutoring to these boys. Everyone always thought he was a child molester, except the popular boys who would threaten you if they heard you talk bad about him. When we came back to school at the beginning of 8th grade, he was gone. As was one of the more popular boys in school, he transferred to an insanely expensive private school. Turns out, sure enough, he was molested by the teacher several times during tutoring sessions at the teacher's house. The school district agreed to pay to send the kid to private school as part of a settlement. Some girl had sex with her half-brother. We all thought it was rumor until she got drunk at a party and told everyone. I had a science teacher that was rumored to get a boner whenever he started shouting. We thought it was a myth until we noticed it for real. He would always try put one leg up on a chair to hide it. That a science teacher used to be a stripper. In middle school, there was a rumor my 7th-8th grade social studies teacher owned a pet donkey. Turned out to be true. The donkey's name was Pedro the Donkey. The captain of the cheerleader squad got a breast reduction to go from H-cups to DD. Oh, and also, some relatively unknown girl did porn on her senior year spring break after she turned 18, and this was 25 years ago. So she had to send letters and photos in the mail to set it up. Two of the science teachers do shrooms together. Found out cause one of their sons was a student editor. Apparently this happens a lot. This was in NorCal. The band director was grooming and seducing his favorite female percussionists. Apparently this is something of a common occurrence. Anywho, he finally got caught with one of the girls in his car late at night. I was being a father figure, mentor, yada yada yada. Everyone knew the real story. He lost his job and personally I've never heard about him since. Rumor was the junior high English teacher was a bit of a perv. Most of our parents would say, hey, stop joking about that. Turned out he was about 10 years ago he was arrested, charged and convicted on child porn charges. For all the people asking because I can't answer each one individually, he wasn't discovered and charged until after he'd been teaching for years. Almost a decade after I graduated from HS, there was a complaint he'd been selling weed in exchange for, and finally one of the parents got wind. Police raided his place, found weed and tapes and other things. He was put in jail and of course lost his job. Got stabbed by one of his prior victims, so there's some justice. Small towns, eh? Too, I get that people are upset about background checks, but this was in the late 70s early 80s, so, let's face it, background checks were mostly calling references and previous jobs. It was simpler, stupider time. There were rumors that there was a network of underground tunnels that connected every building on my college campus. Didn't believe it till I walked through them myself. I know that's not about teachers fucking kids or incest or whatever, but I still think it's interesting. Well, I kind of expected this to stay buried, but here we are to clear up the mysteries still remaining and elaborate a bit. One Grand Valley State University in Grand Rapids, Michigan, but the tunnels are under the main campus in Allendale. Two can confirm they were maintenance and steam tunnels. Some older sections may have doubled as bomb shelters. As a student I had a job that allowed me to request keys to pretty much anywhere on campus without question. The first time I found the tunnels was because I opened a door labeled maintenance in the basement of a dorm, and found myself staring down an incredibly long corridor. For my GV brothers and sisters who are on campus now, look for the big metal cylinders scattered throughout campus that look like huge central AC units or HVAC related. You'll sometimes hear fan sounds coming from them. Those are access points, vents to the tunnel system. Off the top of my head, I know there's one outside Mackinac Hall, one outside Kirchhoff if you enter by the clock tower, and one outside the back entrance to the music building. There's dozens more, but it's been a while. Happy hunting. There was a rumor going around in my high school that an English teacher and a biology teacher were sleeping with each other. I thought it didn't make any sense at all, other than being strict teachers who graded harshly. It's not like they had anything in common, and I'd never even seen them talking to each other or interacting in any way. They were both married, and besides, she was youngish and attractive and he was. I had always figured that someone who managed to flunk both classes at the same time just decided to start a rumor. My brother is 6 years younger than me, and during his time at the school they both were fired suddenly in the middle of the school year. Turns out it was true all along. They had been caught fraternizing on school grounds. I was pretty surprised. Of all the weird rumors that go around in a typical school, that was the one that had to be true. Biology teacher decided to use the scientific method to personally prove or disprove to himself that humans could photosynthesize. He did this by laying bare-ass naked on his front lawn, landing him a public nudity charge. My middle school math teacher, married man, was having an affair with one of the special education teachers. Went on for years. After I graduated high school, he killed himself when the other woman gave him an ultimatum. Confirmed by a family member that worked as a substitute teacher. Coincidentally, said family member also had an affair with another employee there that resulted in that employee shooting herself in front of my mother. This was a rumor that went around my elementary school. Basically my school had a lockdown, but they didn't tell us what it was for. One kid came in the next day and told us that his sister said it was a cow in the field in between the high school and middle school. So my second grade class went and told everyone else in the school. The next day we had an assembly that confirmed this rumor. My AP US Gov teacher was the daughter of Phil Jackson. We all believed it, and during his last Lakers game her and her family was there and shown on screen. Got a screenshot of her at the game and shared with some friends. We all knew for sure then, but we never really brought it up to be respectful, as she didn't like the attention for it. New physics teacher was a total creep. The old spidey sense kicked in for all of us. We could all tell something was wrong with the guy. Most of us dropped the class. Plus he sucked as a teacher and everyone was failing. Years later I stumbled across a news article saying the teacher was fired and arrested for videotaping girls in the classroom through the use of camera hidden in the classroom. Mostly aimed at cleavage and upskirt short shots. We knew he was a weirdo. Time always tells the tale that this hot chick at my school was banging 2 army recruiters. Found out it was true when they were on the news being arrested. One of them ran to I think Michigan with his wife and kids. When I was a sophomore in high school, the basketball coach became the new principal of the school. He had a girl who was on the girls' basketball team worked in his office. Back then students were allowed to work as an office assistant if their grades were good, and if they're seniors she was there almost all the time even when she wasn't supposed to be. The rumor was that they were sleeping with each other, because people would see them doing things after school, like running together and go out to eat somewhere. These rumors were later blew off as nothing because even though he was the principal, he still devoted his time to an after-school jogging running class to help students and teachers stay active and keep in shape, and buying dinner at McDonald's for a student isn't the same as taking them somewhere more extravagant like steakhouse. After I came back as a junior from summer break, everyone in our class and in the entire school found out that they both got married and were expecting their first child together. He was married with children from a previous marriage that ended after the girl graduated from high school. One of the teachers was banging a student. They got caught the year he left, but it was rumored 3 years before that. Taylor's mom gave Mark a handy during football practice. My high school janitor was my baby brother's dad. That the creepy track coach computer teacher with a Corvette and a hair transplant, worst case of midlife crisis I've ever personally seen, was banging an underage student. That a girl in my grade gave her older brother a BJ with Pop Rocks in her mouth for $50. Her fiancé confirmed it for us years later. Turns out it's a fetish of hers. The Pop Rocks, not the incest. Vice principal was checking out female students and taking pics. He got fired. One of our teachers were fucking a rich student's dad for expensive cars and other shit. Heard her talk about it in the hallway on her phone. Some teachers spread some rumors that I won't be successful in life. That this one gym teacher was a pervert. Turns out he actually fucked a student, and when it got out, he tried to flee to Mexico but got arrested at the border. Principal Lassiter had spray on hair. There was a rumor that this kid helped murder a guy during a robbery. It was a small town, and the day after the robbery murder it seemed like everyone at school was talking about this kid being involved. Someone else was convicted, an older former student, and the rumor sort of faded out. We all graduated, some of us moved away, and the rest of us avoided the psycho. A decade or so later, he was arrested and convicted of the murder when his accomplice flipped on him to get parole. There was a rumor that my buddy Todd got caught sticking a toilet plunger up his anus. I didn't believe it. About a month later I spent the night at his house. We snuck some of his parents' beers and got a bit drunk. After we went to bed he got up and left the bedroom. After about 30 minutes I got up to investigate. I just wanted to make sure he was okay. Saw him looking into his parents' room, who were having sex. Unfortunately, I can also confirm the plunger story to be true. Yes. I got dressed and walked home in the dark. A young lady wanked off her pet dog at a house party. I heard it was true when I went to talk to her, because she was in my friend circle. I said, "Hey, just so you know I don't believe those disgusting rumors going around that you blew a dog. That's just awful. I don't know who would even come up with something like that." And she up and said, "Yeah, I didn't blow him, I just tugged him off a bit." Stunned silence said it. Please stop asking what country state school this was. For one thing, I'm not trying to out the dog wanker, plus I'm not going to thereby say what high school I myself went to, but most importantly, every time one of you guesses incorrectly, that's just another unfortunate incident of pet molestation I'm now aware of. One incident was enough. Too much, even. Rumor was a particular freshman girl could fist herself. Seemed outlandish, she was kind of quiet and nerdy. Dated her the next year. Oh, that the art teacher was cheating on her husband with the art technician. The marriage broke up and they ended up in a relationship. That our English teacher slept with a student every year at the grad party. We found out this, amongst other things, was true when he was arrested for possession of child porn. Lacey had pierced nipples. No one believed her and she eventually got so fed up she proved us wrong. Rumor that a new freshman girl, I was sophomore or junior, was caught shooting heroin in girls' room. 10-20 years later, talking casually to a woman in a business setting saying she'd started school where I was but caught early using heroin in bathroom. It was a deal breaker with the school for some square reason. She didn't know I heard the rumor, I didn't tell her either. Her family was loaded and she, a freshman, drive to school in a Porsche or Jaguar. I remember that rumor too. Definitely same chick. In high school there was this freshman that had gotten a reputation for getting around. Never talked to her, but unfortunately everyone kind of judged for it. Later in the year there was a rumor that she shoved a curling iron up her vagina and filmed. It was just kind of a funny rumor, but then a couple weeks later the guy she sent it to sent out the video, and by the end of that day everyone in the school had seen it. It was weird. She also took a horse tranquilizer before school and had a seizure during class. Hope she's doing well. There was a rumor that my high school health teacher got dunked on by Kobe Bryant when he was in high school. He played varsity basketball at my HS, which is in the same district as the one that Kobe went to. Whenever people brought it up in class he would deny it and get really mad. Sure enough, someone found an old highlight tape on YouTube of Kobe from high school, and there was my health teacher getting posterized by the legend himself. There was in fact a gay brotherhood that would meet up to have org in the trades building. Edit: yes, I see the typo. No, I won't change it. That I'm a lesbian. I'd how this 7th and 8th grade motherfuckers at 2 different schools knew before I did. Not mine, but my dad's. There was a rumor that there were tunnels underneath the school and that they went across the whole campus. There were, in fact, tunnels underneath the school. My dad and his buddies found an entrance covered by some bushes when they were throwing around a football. The thing was bolted up with chains, so they drove into town, bought some bolt cutters, came back, and found their way into the tunnels. The tunnels span most of the school, and were relatively clean, as he tells it. They mostly just led to janitor closets and storage rooms around campus. He used them to pull pranks when he attended. Wasn't ever caught, but the administration figured that him and his crew knew about them. At least. Rumor was our new substitute English teacher was suspended years back for choking out a student. By the end of the week with him he threw a table at a student and threatened to kill him. We were debriefed by our usual teacher when he came back. Was confirmed. We were not surprised. Added: we were outright shitheads and did everything we could to test this rumor. Kids are terrible. Added: it given my guilt on receiving karma for being a terrible student. Thought I'd give a quick shout out to all the teachers out there. You guys are fucking champions that go way underappreciated, and not just by your students. For all the youngins reading all these comments thinking that's fucking hilarious, yeah, sounds about right. What a psycho. Adulting can be brutal and very few jobs are as challenging as fronting a room full of teenagers that will destroy you given the chance and being able to not let it get to you. We may have a greater level of responsibility, but we're still human. The big rumor that was always going around at my high school was that 2 band kids got caught banging in the auditorium, and that's why they started keeping all the doors locked in the band auditorium hallway. This allegedly happened when my brother, who's 4 years older than me, was in high school, and I vaguely remember him coming home from school and telling me about it one day. The story got passed around a lot for years and it was different every time. Cut to me 24F being like 19. I started dating an older guy and someone told me that he was a bad kid in high school and apparently got suspended for like a month once. I thought that was hilarious and that she was joking or making it up because this guy is a nerd who got straight A's and probably never even got so much as a detention his whole life. I asked him about it, jokingly, just out of curiosity. Hey, did you ever get suspended in high school? He said, oh, I guess you heard about that. Turns out I married my high school's legend. For the record, he got some consensual head in the auditorium dressing room. He got in trouble one time in his entire life and the students at our high school still talk about it, year after year. When I told my brother my now husband was that guy, he said, OSHD, that dude's a legend. Not exactly the response I expected from my overprotective brother, but one that I will never forget. That the ROTC teacher was having sex with one of his 13-14 students. Apparently this kid in our class could fill a Pringles can with his dick. No one believed it until a girl confirmed it. Her eyes when she talked about it was like a soldier remembering war stories. Oh, the librarian and the weird science teacher were screwing. Half the school didn't believe it, until they came back after Christmas. Married. Rumor was high school cop was having sex with a student. I had a parent working at the school who adamantly denied it. They were caught together in the bathroom my junior year. His wife died of cancer 2 weeks later. I went to a Catholic school. The big rumor that I remember being true was that the middle-aged principal, late 40s, early 50s, was banging the much younger early 20s, super pretty art teacher while his wife was sick and dying from cancer. We found it was true when he suddenly got suspended and his wife divorced him. It was an ugly divorce. They had 3 kids and she was terminal, but still had the fight in her to leave him and fight for custody of her kids. That the theater teacher liked to kiss young boys and then swear them to secrecy, figured it was just a rumor that got out of hand. He registered as a sex offender in 2014. He also obviously lost his job. The school principal ended up resigning too because she had heard the rumors of him kissing boys before and had done nothing. Pretty surprising considering he was a really dedicated teacher and I even got to be in a few shows he directed and it was fun. Such a shame. Was cheating on her BF with college guy. She was 16, going on 17 at the time.